My name is Victoria Leonard, and I am your lay worship leader today. I warmly welcome you to the First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church in Bridgewater. I have been a member here for less than a year. I began attending in January, and I officially joined in April, so I am pretty new. Oh, and I have on red shoes. Yes, red shoes, red scarf, red purse, I'm enthusiastic. I serve in the choir, the Tone Chimes Choir, and on the worship committee. What I love about First Parish is that here we get to celebrate the holiness in our lives every day. Our lives as we live them are blessed and sacred just the way they are. Holiness is not some lofty goal reserved for the chosen few, but something that we can all experience every day, and I think that's really beautiful. This morning, we are pleased to welcome our guest musician, Ashley Mulcaire, joining us today. Ashley is a first-year seminarian at Boston University and a lifelong UU, and also happens to be Pastor Rosemary's best friend. Lifelong best friend. Lifelong best friend. Before we begin our time of worship, we have a few announcements. First one is that there will be a congregational meeting today, Sunday, October 13th, today, after our service at 12 p.m. back here in the sanctuary. The church needs to make some big purchases, as you can see, that will require a vote from the congregation. So after service on October 13th, today, grab some snacks and some coffee and quickly meet back here in the sanctuary at 12 p.m. for our congregational vote. Do you want to do your announcement? Desiree has an announcement, and then Jan has an announcement.
Tickets are on sale now for the First Parish Players production of The Crucible. It's going to be Friday, November 8th at 7, Saturday, November 9th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m., and Sunday, November 10th at 7 p.m. If you want to purchase tickets, you can go to firstparishplayers.com, or they can be purchased at the door as well. We take all forms of payment. Come see it.
Oh, this thing is quiet now. I like that, the new mic. Okay. The service is going to be following the service will be the congregational meeting. We'll be meeting to discuss, buying some stuff for First Parish, which is great. I just spoke to Alan, and he said that we can Zoom it for the Zoom folks, just so that they can know what's going on. The other thing I'd like to announce is Thursday, November 28th, which is Thanksgiving. We're going to do our annual Thanksgiving dinner here. We've done it for several years. It's been a lot of fun. People come with their families, people come on their own. It's a potluck, and I really hope that you guys can join us. I know so many people have responsibilities far away and like that, but if you can even drop in for a while, we do have a good time. So I thank you for that. Oh, we will have a sign-up list soon, next week, as to what you might want to bring. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Eileen Heine, and I'm on the events committee. And I wasn't going to make this announcement. I was just sitting there and thinking, I need to do this, and it reflects my procrastination and lack of enthusiasm about organizing the holiday fair. So it's time, if we're going to do this. Lori and I have communicated a little bit. She's willing to do cookies, as she always has. I'm willing to organize the vendors, as I always do, although they are getting fewer each year. But Lori, we haven't talked about this, but what about soup? Is there anybody who's willing to organize the soup? And, if you remember the last few years, we have not served it, and I don't think we will be doing that again. We are just doing a packaging. And so if there's someone who's interested and willing to organize that, please see me or Lori anytime. And then, of course, the other issue is just publicity, getting the message out on public media, et cetera, social media. But I think with our new office assistant, I think he's really good at this. So maybe that'll ease our burden a lot, or Lori's anyway. I never do that. So anyhow, that's it. It's always the first Saturday in December. I don't even know what that date is. I don't know if there's a conflict. I haven't checked the calendar. But anyway, that's what I know, and so I've stopped procrastinating.
December 7th. December 7th. We have many speakers of different heights today, so there's a lot of movement. All right. First Parish Bridgewater is a welcoming congregation. We proudly fly the rainbow flag to symbolize our welcome to people of all identities, ages, and backgrounds. If you are new to First Parish, we hope you enjoy your experience this morning. We encourage you to fill out the guest book on the table in the sanctuary at the back, making sure to include your email address to receive church updates. For newcomers joining online, please see the sign-up link posted in the chat. We invite all of you who are here today in person to join us after the service for a time of fellowship in the First Parish Hall. This service is being hosted via Zoom and recorded for Bridgewater Cable TV. I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank Jan and Alan for all the hard work that they do to ensure that our services are accessible to those here in the sanctuary and to our friends joining us on Zoom. And I also wanted to just turn around and wave to our friends who are with us in spirit, though not in body, joining us on Zoom today. Hi, everybody. The camera is turned off to protect your privacy during the sharing of joys and sorrows. In the event of an emergency or evacuation drill, please leave the building through the main sanctuary doors, or should you need a ramp, through the school street entrance on my left. You are welcome here. Thank you for joining us. Your presence makes a difference. We will now begin our time of worship today with the prelude. Would Desiree please come forward to light our chalice? Please join me in reciting our chalice lighting words on the screen above. We light our chalice to mark the sacred hour as we gather in this beautiful historic sanctuary, both the body and spirit. We connect to the many generations that have come here to explore the divine. Let us join our hearts and find the holy in our relationship to each other. It is time to share worship together. Please rise in body if you are able, or in spirit. And let us join our voices for the affirmation of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak with the truth in love, and to help one another.
Do you want to sing with me?
I would love to.
Okay.
Aspiration first.
All right. I'll need your help in leading me in our aspirational song. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land, by every tongue.
Thank you.
Okay. I was curious before I am offering these opening words that who is the author of this beautiful reading? And the author is a poet. Her name is Joy Harjo. She was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1951. Harjo is a member of the Muskogee or Creek Nation. She is the author of several books of poetry, and she was appointed the U.S. Poet Laureate in 2019. She is a current chancellor of the Academy of American Poets and lives in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So here is her poem called Remember. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth, whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember you are all people, and all people are you. Remember you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember language comes from this. Remember the dance language is, that life is. Remember. So I invite you now to join in our opening hymn, I Have Not Come Here Alone.
All right, folks. I'm going to wait for Here I Am. Okay. I invite you to rise and body your spirit. We're going to do this a little differently. If you want to stand. Can you see me? All right. Oh, great. These are the words. I wasn't sure if they would be up there. That's great. So this is a song by the Peace Poets, and it's not in your hymnal, so I'll teach it to you line by line. I have not come here alone. Your turn. I have not come here alone. I carry my people in my bones. I carry my people in my bones. I have not you can hear them in my soul. And if you listen, you can hear them in my soul. Let's sing together. I have not come here alone. I carry my people in my bones. I have not come here alone. And if you listen, you can hear them in my soul. Everybody, I have not come here alone. I carry my people in my bones. I have not come here alone. If you listen, you can hear them in my soul. A little faster. Not come here alone. I carry my people in my bones. I have not come here alone. If you listen, you can hear them in my soul. Last time. I have not come here alone. I carry my people in my bones. I have not come here alone. And if you listen, you can hear them in my soul.
Now is the time in our service for the sharing of joys and sorrows, those matters of great personal significance that touch us, our families, and our loved ones. If you have a joy or a sorrow, please come to the front to light a candle. If you would like to speak, please keep your sharing brief at this time so that the ritual can move smoothly. You may also choose to light your candle in silence. Online participants are invited to share by typing your joys and sorrows in the chat. A volunteer in our sanctuary will read them aloud.
Please join me in prayer. Today's prayer was adapted from the Reverend Frederick Gillis. Spirit of community in which we share and find strength and common purpose. Turn our hearts and minds towards one another, seeking to bring into our circle of concern all who need our love and support. Those who are ill, those who are in pain, either in body or spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. We especially lift up on this Indigenous Peoples Day weekend those who have been wronged by the United States government, by oppression, and by poverty. We lift up and celebrate joy. Joy is a form of resistance and liberation. Our joys, when held together, are magnified. We are a part of a web that makes us one with all humanity, one with all the universe. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, that consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care. Amen, and blessed be.
I would like to invite all of you to join us in singing our musical meditation, which is going to be sung as a round. It is Building Bridges, which can be found in your hymnal, number 1023. And Ashley is going to lead, and we're going to sing through it once together, and then 3 times as a round. And this half of the church can sing along with me, and the other side of the church can sing along with Ashley.
Great.
Are we going to do the offering?
Yes, great. No, I don't think so. I think Building Bridges is next.
Ah, it's different.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. Great, perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect, good. All right, let's sing
We'll
together.
do the
folks.
invitation to generosity.
Either way,
yes.
we're singing together, which is great news. All right.
But this is fun. It's art.
All right. I want to invite you to center down a little bit as we sing together. This is number 1023 if you're a hymnal reader. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Let's sing together again. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we can make such sweet harmony. One more time together. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all our voices and all our visions, friends, we can make such sweet harmony. This side. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? I reach out to you, and all our visions, with all our voices and all of our visions, building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? I reach out to you, and all our visions, with all our voices and all our visions, building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to visions, I reach out to you, and reach out to visions, with all our voices and all our visions, friends, we can make such sweet harmony.
I apologize. I mixed up the musical meditation. I flip-flopped things, but that's okay. We're going to get to everything. Now, I would like to invite you all to generosity. Each Sunday, we collect an offering to support the ministries of our church and the mission of a community organization that shares our faith values. This month, contributions to our collection plate are being shared with the MCNAA, the Massachusetts Center for Native American Awareness. The MCNAA supports Native elders, children, and low-income families. To contribute, write checks to First Parish, Memo, and MCNAA. You may also donate online through the First Parish Church website. This morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received.
seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic in the nation. There is wailing the whole world round. But I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. May the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though they burn our eyes. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty oak to hold my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. So lift me up to the light of change.
There's a little disorder in the order of service, and I read the Remember reading earlier, so we didn't proof it well enough. So here's a prayer of reconciliation. We gather with a hunger for reconciliation. What is done cannot be undone. What is done next must now be done with care. We gather because we are hopeful, because we have visions and dreams of a brighter future, that there may be more than vision in this room. These are the wounds we must heal together, grief and anger for all that has been lost, guilt or fear in the reliving, pain that is gone without sufficient comfort, mistrust that was earned that continues burning still. Every injury we may have named and yet still carry, those we haven't, can't, or dare not speak aloud. Those we are not ready to make public, those still not recognized, accepted, understood. These are the wounds that seek replacement, not cancellation or denial. Wounds we will tend cautiously, applying the salve of understanding, forming scars that mark our history, without disfiguring the future we might share. This is not a time of quick solutions, fancy talking. This is a slow precision. This is a prayer for peace. We are new at this endeavor, new at listening, new at hearing, new at taking enough time to honestly receive one another's stories. What is done cannot be undone. What is done next must now be done with care. We gather because we are hopeful, because we have visions and dreams of a brighter future. May the strength of this time together help us to walk forward. May the wisdom of this experience help us to know our path. May we have the courage to return as often as necessary until our way is clear. May we have the perseverance together to see it through. May we cause it to be so. Amen. And blessed be.
Good morning. Thank you, Reverend Rachel and Victoria and Ashley. So far, this service has inspired me. I come to you today as a U.S. history teacher, a white woman, and as an American who believes in telling the whole story. I offer you this sermon in hopes of telling the whole story. The treatment of Native Americans by the U.S. government is an injustice that is not controversial. I speak for myself as a history teacher on this topic. I have never been asked or pressured to lessen the horrors committed in moving Native people onto reservations. No one has ever questioned my teachings of massacres or kidnapping of children or of hoarding of resources by those in power to maintain poverty on reservations. This is not true about any other topic which involves the U.S. government not living up to our stated values as a nation. When history teachers, even here in Massachusetts, have suggested that we are not creating a nation where all people are created equal and allowed to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, there has been a backlash. But in my experience, not about teaching the great injustices towards Native Americans in U.S. history. There may be something lost in our acceptance of this history. We don't ask hard questions. We simply accept that our history is awful. The first book chronicling this injustice was written in 1881. A Century of Dishonor was written by Helen Hunt Jackson, a resident of Amherst, Massachusetts, and a school friend of Emily Dickinson. She was also the daughter of a Unitarian minister. She calls the treatment of Native people a national shame. Some historians give this book a place of honor near Uncle Tom's Cabin in its importance. But the next part of our nation's history may be partially caused by this book, and it is not about liberation. I asked myself some hard questions about including Helen Hunt Jackson's credentials as a Unitarian. I know that when we begin a story, where we begin a story shapes the way we end a story. And I know that it feels good to believe that your people are on the side of love, dignity, and respect in history. And as it says in the title of this sermon, every story matters. Helen Hunt's story is part of this complicated web of hope and of failure. One particular injustice in American history in American history, committed by the U.S. government and supported by white Americans, has been in the news quite a bit over the last few years. Beginning in the 1880s, the U.S. government set up a series of boarding schools to educate Native American children. Here in Massachusetts, newspapers celebrated these schools as creating a brighter future for Indian children. While activists, survivors, and historians have been familiar with these schools, they have come into the public discussion of injustice towards Native people recently, when almost 1,000 unmarked graves of children were discovered in Canada in the summer of 2021. This caused many Americans to look more closely at our history, which is full of horrific stories from Native American boarding schools. The public wanted to know how something so awful could have happened. In the briefest of overviews, Native people in North America were pushed west onto land that could not support their economies. Here in America, as the land set aside for Native Americans shrank, many Americans were unbothered by the poverty and hunger that existed on reservations. One group of Americans called Indian reformers believed that the solution was to dismantle the reservation system and help Indians assimilate into mainstream American life. The most outspoken Indian reformer was Captain Richard Henry Pratt. He famously stated that the only way to help Native people was to kill the Indian in him to save the man. Like Helen Hunt Jackson, he criticized the United States government for the years of massacres, unfair treatment, and broken promises. A word about language, I will quote freely from Pratt, but I have updated his language on race. I will let you form your own opinion about Pratt based on the content of his ideas. The only way forward, according to Pratt, was to bring Indians individually into the capacity and freedom of citizens. He believed that our public school system was the strength of America, where people of all races may become unified in every way and loyal to the government. He wanted to create schools to show both white Americans and Native people themselves that the Indian is no different from the whites or the people of color, and that the same inalienable right to liberty and opportunity is there for the white and the African American. In many ways, Pratt was chastising white Americans for their prejudice and their actions. When we cease to teach the Indian that he is less than a man, when we recognize fully that he is capable in all respects as we are, and that he only needs the opportunities and privileges which we possess to enable him to assert his humanity and manhood, when we cease to fetter him to conditions which keep him in bondage, when we allow him the freedom of association and the developing of influences of social contact, then the Indian will quickly demonstrate that he can be truly civilized, and he himself will solve the question of what to do with the Indians. As a military officer, Pratt believed that a military style of education would achieve these goals. Under his leadership, an old military base was converted to a school in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. This school became the example for 408 federally recognized Indian boarding schools. The Carlisle School educated over 10,000 students before its closure in 1918. The last federally funded Indian boarding school closed in 1969. We are still working to understand how many children attended these schools. The earliest voice against these schools came from a young graduate named Chalice. She lived with her mother on the Yankton Reservation in South Dakota until she turned 8. In 1884, she traveled to Indiana to attend the White Indian Manual Labor Institute. She was an exceptional student, excelling in writing and in music. Her skills bring her to accept a teaching position at the Carlisle School, working under Pratt. Chalice's time at the Carlisle School was short. She quickly began to question the practices of the school, especially those that pushed Indian children to manual labor. She was dismissed in 1901. After leaving the Carlisle School, Chalice began to write about her education at the school. Schools for Indian children were designed to systematically strip children of their culture. They were taken from their parents and not allowed to communicate with them. They were punished for speaking their first language. They were forced to accept American names. Chalice's name at school was Gertrude. Chalice described the day when she heard a rumor that all the children, both boys and girls, must wear their hair short. She vowed to fight. She ran away and hid under a bed. She writes, "I remember being dragged out, though I resisted by kicking and scratching wildly. In spite of myself, I was carried downstairs and tied fast to a chair. I cried out, shaking my head all the while until I could feel the cold blades of the scissors against my neck. And I heard them gnawing off one of my thick braids. Then I lost my spirit." Generations of children were removed from their parents and placed in these boarding schools. They were stripped of their culture. Away from their parents' protection, they survived physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Few had Chalice's ability to voice their suffering. The schools began with misguided idealism. As they became institutions, only the negative remained. Children suffered. There was little oversight. In 2021, Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, announced the Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative. The hope of this research initiative was to begin a discussion and healing of intergenerational trauma caused by boarding schools. The final report of this initiative was released this year. This will lead to more research, the collection of more stories, and hopefully healing. Part of this reckoning brings me back to Chalice's story. During an illness, she became frustrated with a caretaker bringing her medicine. She refers to the caretaker as the well-meaning white woman. This phrase hit me hard, for obvious reasons. Here in this congregation, we have a full range of identities that hold power. And I like to believe that we are all well-meaning. It is so hard to believe that anyone who worked in these boarding schools was well-meaning. And this brings me to one chilling truth about these schools. They were staffed and supported by religious liberals. Quakers ran many schools. Unitarians ran one, the Montana Industrial School for Indians. A generation earlier, the members of these faith traditions were organizing to end slavery. By 1880, they were participating in erasing the cultures of Native Americans. As I said earlier, it feels good to believe that your people are on the side of love, dignity, and respect in history. But how do you respond when you are not? How do you move forward when your religious ancestors participated in something this awful? My training as both a teacher and in seminary has taught me to always ask questions about what voices are at the center. I know I can use my power to pull voices to the center that are in danger of being lost to history. Most of the time, that is what I choose to do. But today I'm making a different choice. I want to ask questions about those who had power and believed they were using power for good, because ultimately they were very, very wrong. And when good intentions lead to awful outcomes, there is a lesson waiting to be learned. I do believe there are two very important lessons that I want to highlight today. I hope that you all continue to think about these challenging topics and find your own insight. The first lesson that I want to highlight is that the well-meaning teachers and administrators at the boarding schools were influenced by Captain Richard Henry Pratt's hope for a better world for all people. But they did not question his assumption about whether Native Americans, they did not question his assumptions about what a better America would look like. It simply never occurred to Pratt that Native American children could be educated in a way that secured their future without erasing their culture. These schools, at least in the early years, believed that the suffering of a generation was a fair sacrifice to save the man. This reminds me of times in my life when I am willing to leap over the suffering of others to make a political point. I have thought of that often this week as I watched videos and images of Hurricanes Helene and Milton. My mind wants to jump right to blaming politicians for years of denying the coming climate crisis. But this does nothing to help those who are suffering from the effects of climate change. There certainly is a time to fight for policies that protect our planet, but we cannot use the hardships of our fellow Americans to prove a point while we ignore the current human pain. Second, we need to remember that every story is important, even if we are not proud of it. It saddens me to know that it took 140 years to look critically at the history of these boarding schools. And now historians are gathering and synthesizing more information. We have the findings of the Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative. But where does that leave us as religious liberals who participated in this history? I believe it puts us in a place to lead by example in telling our story. It is not complicated. Many of our religious ancestors were wrong. Their good intentions cannot be used as excuses. We can tell our whole story in hopes that the mistakes made in our past will help us center our values in making decisions in our future. We can learn from our Quaker friends who share many of our values today and are also grappling with this history. They are working with lawmakers to bring about change that centers the needs of Native Americans to address the cross-generational trauma created by these schools, while also working to preserve the history and the stories of the children who attended these schools. Every child matters, every story matters. Learning these stories is important. We can work to center love, dignity, and respect in decisions as we move forward. Let it be so.
right. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to join in singing our closing hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and raise the sublime. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as our neighbor, both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take no for granted the privileged race. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway when radiance near. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work towards a planet transformed by our care.
Our closing words also come from Frederick E. Gillis. May the love that overcomes all differences, that heals all wounds, that puts to flight all fears, that reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always. Amen.
The time has come for us to extinguish our chalice. Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our time of worship has ended. Our time of fellowship has begun. Let's join for coffee and snacks.
Seriously, that was great. Thank you. My best teachers were history teachers. All of them.
I just feel
It is important. What grade do you teach? I'm still in touch with my 7th grade geography teacher, my 2nd grade teacher, and I teach. My grandmothers were teachers, my mother was a teacher, my dad taught college. It's in the blood.
Yeah.
History. And you know what? History
I think that a little bit of my thinking. Thank you.
That's really what struck me the most. Making but I hope because it wasn't people being like, we're gonna steal the children. It was like really people thought they were doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, it was really
The music, I feel like, was so helpful. Making
Did you
so
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Put in everything that you want.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. We're going to leave that in there for next time.
So meaningful.
I'm waiting for you to sing. Your voice is just great.
Thank you very much.
I have my take on it.
I've never noticed that there.
It's real thing and it's still going on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so we grew up together.
Oh my word.
I am. Yeah. I
really think that it's not just the black I love it. Even if it's anybody that looks like they're rising up to the equal to this.
I think what I hope is kind of what I was thinking today is that we need to empower everyone who means well to stand up against it. There's been recognized